Hello, my friend. Welcome to my Fall Asleep channel. Tonight we will talk about dopamine. What is it, and how it affects our lives? A calm narrative for sleeping, with interesting facts and questions about it. If you enjoy peaceful stories like this, you are warmly invited to subscribe and return whenever you need to slow down. Now allow yourself to get comfortable. Let the day fade away and enjoy a quiet and pleasant rest. Let's begin. This story is about dopamine, not as a trend, not as a shortcut, but as a quiet, essential process that has been shaping human life long before it had a name. Dopamine is not a feeling you notice directly. It is a signal, a chemical messenger moving between neurons, helping the brain decide what matters, what is worth effort, and what can be released. It is often called the pleasure chemical, but that description is incomplete. Dopamine is less about pleasure itself and more about motivation, anticipation, and learning. It rises not only when something feels good, but when something is expected, predicted, or pursued. It is present when curiosity appears, when attention sharpens, when a goal feels possible, and it fades when effort no longer seems useful. In the brain, dopamine works quietly, influencing focus, movement, mood, and decision-making without ever asking to be noticed. It helps coordinate motion, allowing muscles to move smoothly and precisely. It supports attention, making certain thoughts easier to hold than others. It participates in learning by marking experiences as meaningful or unimportant. When dopamine signaling is balanced, motivation feels natural. When it is low, everything can feel heavier, slower, harder to begin. When it is too high or dysregulated, impulses can feel louder, restlessness more present. Dopamine is both a neurotransmitter and, in some contexts, a hormone. In the brain, it acts locally, passing messages across synapses. In the body, it also plays roles in circulation and regulation. This dual nature allows it to influence both thought and physical state. Dopamine release is triggered by many things: food, especially sugar and fat, novelty and surprise, social interaction, music, achievement, movement. Even anticipation alone can raise dopamine before anything actually happens. This is why wanting often feels stronger than having. The brain releases dopamine in response to prediction, not just reward. Learning depends on this. Dopamine signals whether an outcome is better or worse than expected, adjusting behavior quietly over time. This process is called reward prediction, and it shapes habits without conscious effort. Habits form because dopamine reinforces patterns that seem useful or rewarding, not because they are always healthy, but because they were once effective. This same system explains why repetition can dull pleasure. Repeated overstimulation reduces sensitivity, making the same input feel less impactful over time. Dopamine receptors adapt. This is not failure, but balance attempting to restore itself. Sleep plays a role here. Without adequate rest, dopamine signaling becomes less efficient. Focus drops, motivation fades, and the brain compensates by seeking stronger stimulation. Stress also affects dopamine. Short-term stress can increase it, sharpening focus. Chronic stress tends to reduce sensitivity, making effort feel unrewarding. Sunlight influences dopamine as well, helping regulate circadian rhythms and alertness. Exercise increases dopamine production and receptor sensitivity, supporting both mood and motivation. Music can raise dopamine, especially when anticipation builds before a favorite moment. Social connection activates dopamine pathways, reinforcing bonding and cooperation. Dopamine is involved in desire and motivation during intimacy, but it is not responsible for connection alone. It works alongside other systems, including oxytocin and serotonin. Dopamine differs from serotonin in important ways. Serotonin is more closely tied to mood stability and contentment. Dopamine is more about drive, curiosity, and movement towards something. Imbalance in dopamine signaling is linked to several conditions. Parkinson's disease involves the loss of dopamine-producing neurons, affecting movement. ADHD is associated with altered dopamine regulation affecting focus and impulse control. Depression often includes reduced dopamine activity, especially related to motivation and pleasure. Addiction strongly involves dopamine. Substances and behaviors that produce rapid, intense dopamine spikes can hijack learning systems, reinforcing repetition even when harm appears. Gambling, social media, video games, nicotine, alcohol, and certain drugs all interact with dopamine in different ways. Unpredictability is especially powerful. Rewards that arrive irregularly stimulate dopamine more strongly than predictable ones. This explains why scrolling, notifications, and chance-based rewards are so compelling. Dopamine is not depleted permanently, but it can become dysregulated. Balance returns gradually through consistent patterns, not instant resets. Diet influences dopamine indirectly. Protein provides tyrosine, a building block for dopamine synthesis. Caffeine increases dopamine signaling indirectly by blocking adenosine. Nicotine increases dopamine release sharply. Alcohol initially increases dopamine, then disrupts regulation afterward. Cold exposure has been shown to increase dopamine levels for extended periods. Aging affects dopamine as well. Dopamine signaling gradually declines over time, contributing to changes in motivation and movement. Genetics also influence dopamine receptors, meaning people naturally vary in sensitivity and drive. Dopamine affects decision-making, risk-taking, creativity, and confidence through its role in reward evaluation. Too little can make choices feel heavy. Too much can increase impulsivity. Dopamine supports curiosity, learning speed, and persistence when balanced. It plays a role in emotional motivation, shaping how strongly emotions influence behavior. Dopamine interacts with sleep-wake cycles, helping regulate alertness. Poor sleep disrupts this interaction, making motivation unreliable the next day. Dopamine is involved in boredom. Low stimulation reduces dopamine signaling, increasing restlessness and the search for novelty. It is also involved in satisfaction after achievement, reinforcing effort. Burnout can involve dopamine dysregulation caused by chronic stress and reward imbalance. Despite its influence, dopamine is not something to control directly. It responds to patterns, environment, rest, and rhythm. The brain uses dopamine as a quiet guide, adjusting behavior without commentary. Understanding dopamine does not require changing anything tonight. Awareness alone is enough. Noticing that motivation rises and falls naturally, that attention shifts based on prediction and reward, that effort feels easier when systems are rested. Dopamine has been shaping human behavior for as long as humans have existed, guiding exploration, learning, cooperation, and survival. And it continues doing so now, quietly, consistently, without needing attention. And as this understanding settles, the mind does not need to analyze further. The body remains at ease. Thoughts slow naturally, not because of instruction, but because nothing more is required in this moment. And this calm awareness continues, steady, unforced. As the story moves gently onward, dopamine remains present as a quiet thread running through ordinary moments, shaping how daily life unfolds without asking to be noticed. It is there when attention settles on a task and stays, and also when it drifts, searching for something more engaging. Dopamine helps the brain decide what deserves energy and what can be ignored. This is why motivation is rarely constant. It rises and falls in cycles, influenced by sleep, stress, novelty, and expectation. Productivity is not a fixed trait, but a reflection of how dopamine signaling is supported or strained. When balance is present, effort feels possible. When balance is lost, even simple actions can feel heavy. Dopamine plays a role in procrastination, not as a flaw in character, but as a signal that anticipated reward does not yet outweigh perceived effort. This is also why breaking tasks into smaller steps often helps. Each completion creates a small reinforcement, gently restoring momentum. Curiosity is deeply tied to dopamine. The desire to explore, to learn, to understand emerges when the brain predicts value in new information. Learning becomes easier when curiosity is present because dopamine supports memory formation by sharpening attention. This same system explains why boredom feels uncomfortable. Low stimulation reduces dopamine activity, prompting the search for novelty or reward. Modern environments amplify this effect. Constant access to unpredictable rewards can overstimulate dopamine pathways, making quieter activities feel less engaging by comparison. Social media, notifications, and rapid content changes exploit reward prediction, delivering small bursts of novelty that keep dopamine active. Over time, this can reduce sensitivity, making sustained focus harder. Yet the system itself is not broken. It is adaptive. It responds to patterns it is given. Dopamine also shapes social behavior. Positive social interaction activates reward circuits, reinforcing cooperation, bonding, and belonging. Early attachment and emotional connection involve dopamine alongside other neurochemicals, supporting trust and motivation to stay connected. Confidence is influenced by dopamine as well. Successful outcomes increase dopamine signaling, reinforcing belief in future effort. Repeated failure without reward can reduce motivation, not because ability is gone, but because prediction has changed. Dopamine influences risk-taking by adjusting how rewards are evaluated. Higher dopamine activity can increase willingness to take risks, while lower activity encourages caution. Creativity benefits from balanced dopamine, enough to support flexible thinking and idea generation, but not so much that focus fragments. Decision-making relies on dopamine to compare outcomes, weighing potential rewards against effort. This process happens quickly, often outside awareness. Dopamine is also involved in habit formation and habit breaking. Repetition strengthens pathways that once led to reward. Changing habits requires introducing new rewards, not punishment. The brain responds to what is reinforced, not to what is criticized. Dopamine influences eating behavior beyond hunger. Cravings often arise from anticipation rather than need. Sugar and highly processed foods produce strong dopamine spikes, followed by rapid drops. Over time, this pattern can dull sensitivity, leading to increased seeking. Movement helps restore balance. Exercise increases dopamine release and receptor sensitivity, improving mood and focus over time. Even gentle movement supports regulation. Exposure to natural light helps align dopamine with circadian rhythms, supporting alertness during the day and rest at night. Meditation and mindfulness practices influence dopamine by reducing overstimulation and improving awareness of internal states. Dopamine is involved in sleep-wake regulation. Alertness during the day relies on dopamine interacting with other systems. Poor sleep disrupts this interaction, reducing focus and motivation the next day. Rest restores sensitivity, not instantly, but gradually. Dopamine does not work alone. It interacts continuously with serotonin, norepinephrine, endorphins, and other systems. Balance emerges from cooperation, not dominance. This is why no single chemical explains human behavior fully. Dopamine contributes to excitement, anticipation, and drive. but contentment and stability involve other pathways. Emotional regulation is influenced indirectly by dopamine through motivation and behavior. When motivation aligns with values, emotions feel more regulated. When motivation is scattered, emotions can feel unstable. Dopamine influences burnout when effort and reward remain mismatched for long periods. Chronic stress alters dopamine signaling, making recovery slower. Resilience involves restoring motivation through rest, meaning, and manageable challenge. Genetics play a role in dopamine receptor sensitivity, explaining why individuals differ in drive, novelty seeking, and reward sensitivity. Aging brings gradual changes in dopamine activity, contributing to shifts in energy and movement. None of this requires intervention tonight. Understanding dopamine is not about control, but about context, seeing motivation as a fluctuating signal rather than a fixed trait, noticing that attention responds to patterns, not willpower alone, recognizing that balance returns through rhythm, not force. Dopamine continues doing its quiet work, whether it is named or not, adjusting behavior, reinforcing learning, shaping curiosity. And as this awareness deepens, there is nothing more to hold on to. The mind can rest without needing conclusions. The body remains supported, breath steady, thought slowing naturally as understanding settles into calm familiarity. The flow remains steady, allowing dopamine to be understood not as a force to manage, but as a rhythm that moves through life quietly and predictably. Motivation comes and goes the way tides do, influenced by sleep, nourishment, stress, novelty, and meaning. Dopamine does not demand constant productivity. It supports movement when conditions allow. This is why motivation cannot be forced for long without cost. When effort is sustained without adequate reward or rest, dopamine signaling adjusts, reducing drive as a protective measure. This adjustment is not failure, it is regulation. Dopamine helps the brain conserve energy when prediction no longer favors effort. This is why fatigue can feel mental as well as physical. Dopamine is also involved in attention span. Balanced levels allow focus to settle on a single task. Too little makes focus drift. Too much fragments attention. Multitasking strains dopamine systems by constantly shifting reward prediction, making sustained engagement harder over time. Clarity emerges when stimulation is neither too low nor too intense. Dopamine influences optimism indirectly, shaping how likely the brain is to expect positive outcomes. When prediction is favorable, motivation rises naturally. When prediction shifts toward uncertainty or disappointment, motivation withdraws. This process happens quietly, often without conscious narrative. Dopamine plays a role in resilience by supporting the willingness to try again after difficulty. Small successes matter because they recalibrate prediction. They remind the system that effort can still lead somewhere. Dopamine is involved in learning from mistakes through reward prediction error, signaling when outcomes differ from expectation. This allows behavior to adjust gradually, without judgment. Curiosity-driven learning is especially dopamine-supported because novelty signals potential value. Boredom emerges when prediction offers little reward, nudging behavior toward change. Dopamine influences emotional attachment and bonding, particularly in early stages of connection, reinforcing closeness through shared reward. Over time, other systems support long-term stability. Dopamine contributes to excitement and anticipation, not permanence. Satisfaction arrives when effort resolves, when prediction meets outcome. Repeated overstimulation can reduce sensitivity, making stronger inputs feel necessary. Balance returns through variety, rest, and consistent rhythms rather than extremes. Dopamine does not respond well to constant intensity. It thrives on contrast and recovery. Confidence after success is partly dopamine-driven, reinforcing belief in capability. Decision-making confidence fluctuates as dopamine evaluates reward likelihood. Burnout reflects prolonged mismatch between effort and reward, with dopamine signaling adapting downward to protect resources. Recovery requires patience, not force. Dopamine is influenced by environment more than intention. Light, movement, sleep, social connection, and novelty shape its patterns naturally. Awareness of these influences allows gentler choices, not rigid control. Dopamine is not something to chase or suppress. It is something to allow to regulate itself through consistent conditions. The brain has been balancing this system for millions of years. It does not need constant intervention. As understanding settles, complexity simplifies. Motivation becomes less personal, less moralized, more like weather passing through. Attention shifts, energy rises and falls, and nothing about this is permanent. Dopamine continues its quiet signaling whether noticed or not, shaping learning, focus, movement, and desire with remarkable efficiency. And in this moment, there is nothing it needs to do, no prediction to make, no reward to seek. The body remains at ease, breath unforced, the mind no longer tracking information. Understanding has reached a point where it can rest, and rest itself supports balance. Dopamine activity quiets naturally when stimulation fades, not shutting down, simply settling. The nervous system follows. Thoughts slow, impressions soften. As the focus shifts, dopamine no longer needs to be described as a system at work, but as a background influence shaping everyday perception. It subtly affects how time feels, how effort is interpreted, and how meaning is assigned. Moments that feel engaging often carry a quiet dopamine signal underneath them, while moments that feel flat or draining often reflect a temporary absence of that signal. This does not mean something is wrong. It means the brain is conserving energy, reassessing value, recalibrating direction. Dopamine was never meant to be constantly elevated. It evolved to fluctuate, responding to changing environments and priorities. In early human life, dopamine supported exploration, problem-solving, and adaptation. It encouraged movement toward food, safety, learning, and social connection. Once those needs were met, dopamine naturally receded, allowing rest and recovery. Modern life compresses these cycles. Rewards arrive faster, more often, and with less effort. The brain adapts accordingly, adjusting sensitivity without commentary. This adaptation explains why novelty can lose its impact, why stimulation can feel less satisfying over time. It is not boredom with life, but familiarity within the nervous system. Dopamine also shapes how goals are experienced. Long-term goals rely on sustained, moderate dopamine signaling rather than intense spikes. When goals feel overwhelming, it is often because prediction has become uncertain. The brain hesitates to invest energy without clarity. Breaking complexity into visible progress helps restore that signal, not by force, but by evidence. Dopamine responds to what appears achievable. It is influenced by perception as much as outcome. Social environments matter here. Encouragement, recognition, and shared effort all reinforce dopamine pathways, not through praise alone, but through a sense of progress being witnessed. Isolation can dampen motivation, not because ability fades, but because feedback loops narrow. Dopamine also affects how mistakes are processed. When outcomes differ from expectation, dopamine signaling adjusts, allowing learning without emotional charge. This mechanism works best when mistakes are interpreted as information rather than failure. Judgment disrupts learning. Neutrality supports it. This is why calm reflection often restores motivation more effectively than pressure. Dopamine is sensitive to context. Environments with predictable stress reduce its effectiveness, while environments with manageable challenge sustain it. Complete ease does not stimulate dopamine, and constant difficulty exhausts it. Balance emerges in the middle. This balance is personal, shifting across life stages and circumstances. Dopamine patterns change with age, experience, and responsibility. What motivated curiosity in youth may shift toward meaning and contribution later. The system adapts without needing explanation. Creativity draws on dopamine's flexibility, allowing ideas to connect in new ways. But creativity also requires space. Overstimulation fragments that space, reducing the brain's ability to linger. Quiet intervals allow dopamine signaling to reset naturally. Boredom, when tolerated, often precedes insight. Dopamine supports movement as well, not just physical motion, but the initiation of action. This is why low dopamine states can feel like heaviness rather than sadness. Effort itself feels expensive. Rest, nutrition, and rhythm restore the signal gradually, not instantly. Patience is part of regulation. Dopamine does not respond well to urgency. It responds to consistency. Understanding this removes blame from fluctuation. Motivation is no longer a measure of worth, but a reflection of state. The nervous system constantly adjusts, seeking efficiency. When conditions stabilize, dopamine signaling follows. And in moments like this, where stimulation is low and pressure absent, dopamine does not disappear. It quiets, allowing other systems to take the lead. Perception softens. Time feels less segmented. Thought slows not because of fatigue, but because there is no need to prioritize. This is a natural state, not an induced one. The brain is allowed to idle. Dopamine remains present, but unobtrusive, ready to respond when needed. Until then, it rests alongside everything else, quietly integrated into the larger balance of the body and mind. No conclusions forming, no lessons required, just a steady continuation of processes that have always known how to regulate themselves. The narrative moves forward by widening rather than repeating. Dopamine now sits among many signals rather than standing apart. It becomes part of a larger conversation inside the brain, one that includes memory, emotion, and bodily state. It influences how strongly something is remembered, not by storing memory itself, but by tagging experiences as relevant or ignorable. Moments paired with curiosity, novelty, or meaningful effort are more likely to be remembered because dopamine quietly supported attention at the time. This is why learning feels different when interest is present. The brain is not straining, it is cooperating. Dopamine also shapes how effort feels in the moment. When the signal is present, effort carries a sense of direction. When it is absent, the same effort can feel aimless. Neither state is permanent. They reflect shifting internal conditions. Dopamine responds not only to external rewards, but to internal meaning. Values, purpose, and coherence influence motivation just as strongly as novelty. When actions align with personal meaning, dopamine signaling tends to stabilize rather than spike. This stability supports persistence without urgency. The system is sensitive to mismatch. Effort without meaning weakens the signal over time. Meaning without effort does not activate it fully. Balance again becomes the quiet theme. Dopamine's relationship with attention extends into how distractions are handled. High stimulation environments fragment attention by constantly resetting reward prediction. Quieter environments allow attention to settle, not because they are more interesting, but because prediction remains intact. This is why sustained focus often returns when stimulation is reduced rather than increased. Dopamine does not crave intensity, it responds to clarity. The nervous system prefers signals it can interpret reliably. Uncertainty taxes dopamine pathways. Predictability restores them. Routines can support motivation not by being exciting, but by reducing decision cost. Less energy spent choosing means more available for doing. Dopamine also interacts with movement in subtle ways. Initiating movement requires a threshold of motivation. Once movement begins, feedback supports continuation. This applies to both physical motion and mental tasks. Starting is often harder than continuing because prediction is still forming. Once progress is visible, dopamine adjusts upward, making continuation feel easier. Understanding this removes pressure from slow beginnings. They are part of regulation, not resistance. Emotional states influence dopamine as well. Anxiety can distort reward prediction, making outcomes feel less attainable. Calm restores accuracy. This is why motivation often returns after rest rather than effort. Dopamine recalibrates when the nervous system is no longer guarding. The system is protective at its core. It limits investment when conditions feel unsafe or unpredictable. It increases investment when stability returns. This protection is adaptive, not obstructive. It has supported survival, learning, and cooperation across countless generations. Dopamine does not evaluate morality or productivity. It evaluates probability and cost. When cost feels high, signaling reduces. When probability improves, signaling rises. This happens continuously, without language. As understanding deepens, the need to analyze diminishes. The story has already done its work. Dopamine no longer needs explanation. It becomes intuitive, a background rhythm influencing energy, curiosity, and engagement. And now, with stimulation low and pressure absent, the system naturally downshifts, not shutting off, simply quieting. Other processes take prominence: integration, recovery, balance. Thought slows without being directed. Attention softens without effort. Nothing needs to be optimized. Nothing needs to be learned further. The nervous system recognizes this as a safe interval. Dopamine remains available, but at rest, waiting without tension. Part of a system that knows when to act and when to pause. And in this pause, understanding settles into something simpler. A calm familiarity with how motivation rises and falls, how effort follows rhythm, how the body and brain regulate themselves when allowed to. The movement now shifts toward a broader view, where dopamine is no longer centered on the individual alone, but seen as a shared human mechanism shaping cultures, systems, and collective behavior. Entire environments are designed around how attention and motivation respond. Workplaces, technologies, entertainment, and communication all interact with dopamine, whether intentionally or not. Systems that reward speed, novelty, and constant feedback tend to amplify short-term signaling. Systems that reward depth, patience, and continuity support slower, steadier patterns. Neither is inherently wrong. Each produces a different experience of time and effort. Dopamine does not judge these environments. It adapts to them. This adaptability explains why transitions can feel difficult. Moving from high stimulation contexts to quieter ones can temporarily reduce motivation, not because interest is gone, but because prediction has not yet recalibrated. The brain needs time to learn what matters in the new context. Once it does, motivation often returns in a different form, less urgent, more sustained. Dopamine also influences how information is consumed. Rapid, fragmented inputs train the brain to expect frequent reward updates. Longer narratives and deeper focus require a different pattern of signaling. This is not a deficit. It is a shift in expectation. When expectations change, the system adjusts. Patience becomes learnable again. Curiosity deepens rather than jumps. Dopamine supports this transition quietly, without resistance. Values play a role here. When actions align with internal values rather than external reward alone, dopamine signaling becomes less volatile. Motivation stabilizes. Effort feels meaningful rather than reactive. This is why purpose can sustain engagement even when novelty fades. Dopamine does not create purpose, but it responds to it. The system integrates meaning into reward prediction over time. Dopamine also influences how societies handle stress. Collective uncertainty can dampen motivation broadly. Periods of stability tend to restore it. This pattern repeats across history, not as a moral cycle, but as a neurological one. Humans respond to perceived safety and opportunity in predictable ways. Dopamine contributes to innovation during periods of optimism and conservatism during periods of strain. Neither state lasts forever. The system oscillates. Understanding this reduces urgency to fix or force motivation during low phases. Low phases are part of adaptation. They conserve resources, reassess direction, and prepare for change. Dopamine is involved in hope, not as optimism, but as willingness to engage again. Small signals of progress matter here. Evidence that effort can lead somewhere restores prediction. Dopamine responds to proof, not reassurance. This is why genuine progress, however small, is more motivating than encouragement alone. The system is evidence-based. Over time, with consistent conditions, dopamine signaling stabilizes naturally. Extremes soften. Attention becomes more reliable. Effort feels proportionate. This regulation does not require constant awareness. It happens best when left undisturbed. In this moment, there is nothing to adjust, nothing to apply. The story has already integrated explanation into understanding. Dopamine no longer stands out as a topic. It has blended into a larger sense of how life regulates itself. Energy rises and falls. Focus sharpens and softens. Interest appears and recedes, all without needing interpretation. The nervous system recognizes when stimulation is low and safe. It shifts accordingly. Thoughts become fewer, not because they are suppressed, but because there is no demand for them. Awareness broadens, not toward sleep specifically, but toward restfulness, a state where nothing competes for attention. Dopamine remains present, balanced, unobtrusive, ready to respond when the environment changes. Until then, it remains quiet, part of a system that has always known how to adapt, recalibrate, and continue, steadily, without repetition, without pressure, simply allowing the next phase to arrive when it is ready. The story eases toward completion by letting perspective widen one last time, moving away from explanation and toward simple observation. Dopamine now feels less like a subject and more like a quiet presence woven through ordinary awareness. It does not announce itself when it works well. It simply allows engagement to feel possible, effort to feel proportional, interest to arise when something matters and fade when it does not. This subtlety is its strength. Systems that work continuously cannot demand attention. They must remain background processes, adjusting silently. Dopamine does this with remarkable consistency. It does not chase constant reward. It calibrates value. It does not create desire endlessly. It modulates it according to context. When conditions are stable, signaling becomes gentle. When conditions shift, signaling adapts. This adaptability explains why motivation changes across days, seasons, and stages of life. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is broken. Patterns respond to environment, rest, meaning, and rhythm. Awareness of this removes pressure to feel a certain way. Interest does not need to be forced. Focus does not need to be defended. Both return naturally when conditions allow. Dopamine also shapes how presence itself feels. When overstimulation fades, perception slows. Time feels less divided. Attention becomes less selective. The brain no longer needs to prioritize aggressively. This is not loss of function. It is a different mode, one oriented toward integration rather than pursuit. In this mode, the nervous system restores balance. Learning consolidates. Memory settles. Prediction quiets. Dopamine signaling remains low but sufficient. Ready but not active. This readiness without urgency is a sign of regulation, not depletion. The system is conserving energy while remaining responsive, a state that supports clarity later. Nothing about this state needs to be used or optimized. It simply exists. The story itself no longer needs to introduce ideas. Everything essential has already been woven in. What remains is the quiet continuation of processes that do not require narration. Breath continues on its own. Posture remains supported. Awareness floats without attaching to any single thought. Dopamine remains part of this equilibrium, influencing nothing strongly, interfering with nothing, allowing the mind to remain open and unoccupied. There is no conclusion to reach. Understanding does not need a summary. The body and brain will carry this information forward implicitly, the way they carry balance and rhythm. Life will continue offering stimulation and rest in alternating patterns. Dopamine will respond as it always has, adjusting, learning, recalibrating. And for now, in this interval where nothing is being asked, the system rests, not asleep, not alert, simply settled. The story does not end so much as it becomes unnecessary. The processes it described continue quietly on their own, steady, adaptive, complete enough to remain in the background, as attention softens, as effort dissolves, as the moment continues without needing to be marked.